Alright, so this is going to be a video where I build a deck. A lot of people were asking me the last time I streamed a game about my deck building process. I guess it's something that really interests a lot of people, is building decks and all that. So yeah, I'm going to build a deck right now. I don't know. I'm actually building it. I don't have like the list prepared somewhere else, and then I'm gonna actually think about what I want to put in it right now, and then later on I'll stream a game or two with it, see if it's any good, and then back to the drum board. Why am I going load? I need new. Here we go. So yeah, hopefully this will be useful. Okay, so the deck that I'm gonna build is a collective deck. Yeah. I'm hoping that it's programmed properly. I've never seen it yet in Octagon, so I don't know how it's programmed. A lot of people seem to be under the impression that you need to play, for example, 3 Sure Gambles. As an example of something that would give you the extra click, you actually only need to play 3 events, or install 3, and this is all one category, hardware, resource, program. Like installing 3 times gives you a click. Playing 3 events in one turn gives you a click. It doesn't have to be a specific event. It doesn't have to be a specific card. If you remember if you purchased the actual physical Netrunner, like there's a card that gives you, it might even be here. Here we go, runner actions. You can look at this card. These are the runner actions. Playing Sure Gamble is not an action. Playing an event is an action, and it just happens to be that you played Sure Gamble. So the collective, if you read it and you think, oh, well, how am I going to play the same card 3 times? I only have 3 of each card. No, this is how it works. Anyway, so what I'm going to do with this deck is events kind of the best for playing a bunch. Like it's hard for it to be correct anyways, to just install 3 things. It'll happen, I'm sure, but it's harder. So this deck's going to be full of events, and it's also obviously going to be running like 3 professional contacts, because doing that 3 times also gives you a click. Anyways, it's not a big deal if it's not a big deal if it's not programmed properly, because I can just manually up my click every time if I need to while I'm playing games. So anyways, yes, let's start with professional contacts. That's just a deck. That's just a card that's obviously going to fit with, with what this deck's trying to do, which is namely just trigger collective a bunch. Like, that's the first thing we realize is, oh, we're going to want to trigger this ability a bunch. We're playing it like 5 influence sucks, 55 card minimum sucks, 0 link sucks. This card's bad in every way except for its text. So if we're not abusing the hell out of that text, we're doing it wrong. So professional contacts, pretty obvious include. All right, now just a bunch of events. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go by type. I'm just going to search event. And this will give us a list of all the events in the game. And we're going to put any one that we think is good in. So notoriety, we don't know yet if we want to play a notoriety deck or not. We probably won't, since we won't have like doppelganger because we're so low on influence. Don't like satellite uplink. Vamp is too expensive. Here, maybe I should yeah. I should probably make this search a little better. Faction, there we go. Start with Shaper, then we'll go to neutral, and then we can think about if there are any low influence events that we might want. So maybe Stimhack goes into this deck, for example. Yeah, notoriety again, no. Escher, I definitely think we're going to want at least 1 Escher. Escher's not a card that I put it in my identity. My identity's not Escher, it's collective. Here we go. I'm going to want at least 1 Escher. That's not good. This card's terrible. I don't like this card very much either. It could be good in this deck because A, we're going to just have a lot of like chaff in the deck that we're fine with discarding, and B, we're going to be using professional contacts a bunch. The thing is though that like you probably want to use this after you professional contacts a bunch, so it doesn't actually fit into the whole idea of triggering the collective off of playing events. So we're going to have to judge this on its own. Scavenge, I think we're definitely going to want at least one Scavenge. We'll come back to Scavenge later, depending on how the deck goes, but it's definitely a card that I don't mind having one of in pretty much any deck. Quality Time. Now this is more like it. This card's ridiculous. I'm gonna go, actually, no, since we have Professional Context, it might not be as good, and we're definitely playing Diesel, so actually now that I think about it, it's the kind of thing where I love this card, but maybe it doesn't fit here. Indexing definitely fits, particularly because you don't want to just dirtle the whole time and not ever make runs. This deck still needs to win the game in the way that runner decks typically win the game, which is making runs. So any event that has a run tacked onto it is awesome, especially when that run is free in the case of indexing. So even like if we want to, we can just trade a card for a click by playing indexing as our third event and run, and then not index if we want to. Chances are we're going to want to index. I don't see this happening, but like the fact that that's even viable, like the fact that you can, if instead you want to index, you can, and like that's already a pretty powerful effect. Indexing is definitely something we want as a 3 of. Diesel definitely going in. And Modded definitely going in. Alright. Maker's Eye, again, for the same reason. A, it combos with indexing, and like for the same reason as indexing, the fact that it has a run tacked onto it makes it very good. Tinkering I don't really like. This deck's probably, because it's a Shaper deck, and because it's so low on influence, our Breaker Suite, like we're pretty committed to playing an Atman Breaker Suite. And Atman doesn't give a shit about Sentry Codegate Barrier, so this card probably not going to do much of anything in this deck. We can come back to it if we find that we'd rather play something other than Atman, but I suspect we're playing Atman. And since we're playing Atman, we're going to, even though Test Run is an event and we do want events, chances are we still prefer SMC over Test Run as far as tutors go. A, because Test Running an Atman, you still have to, it's not actually free. You still have to pay for however many things you want on it, and then those just go away. Whereas SMC, and like Test Run's also not mid-run. So with SMC, you wait, you see what ice they have when they res it, and then you can find. Whereas you can't do that with Test Run, so probably not playing that either. So we can come back to some of these. I could see adding another Scavenge. I could see adding another Escher. I could maybe see playing Coding Contract or Quality Time. We'll see as we build the deck more, but like these are, right now we're just trying to get the cards that we definitely want, and then we'll see if we need to play like lesser cards. But these are all pretty obvious inclusions that we have so far. Alright, now let's go to the neutral events. Yeah, not too many to choose from, huh? Well, Dirty Laundry for, I've already explained why having a run on your event is awesome, and it's just a good card regardless of that. And then Sure Gramble goes without saying. So now we have to think about Kraken and Infiltration. Well, Kraken's probably out. I don't really like that card. I don't really like Infiltration either, but at the same time it is an event, and it's not useless. It's not a useless effect. I think people are too, maybe it's just because like they argue so much about it and then they get so entrenched in their beliefs, but like it's not a terrible card and it's not a great card. If you think it's great, you're wrong, and if you think it's terrible, you're wrong. Like it's definitely not either of those things. I'm sorry to upset anyone. I think it's subpar. There's usually other cards I'd rather play over it, but I've definitely considered putting it into decks before. The fact that it can gain you 2 credits is not actually that, like, speaking for it that much. That's a pretty weak effect. Exposing, against some decks, it's going to be pretty good, but against most decks, I think it's pretty useless. Like, it's either a Sanson or an Agenda. You can usually infer which it is from the situation at hand. You don't actually need to infiltrate. And infiltrating ice, like, you're playing an Atman deck. Why do you need to do that? Like, it doesn't matter what kind of ice it is. You have SMC, you have an Atman in your deck. You're fine. Like, you don't need to find out what it is because it doesn't matter. Like, that's the whole point of your deck. Um, yeah, so for this reason, again, we're just trying to go with auto inclusions right now. We're going to come back to Infiltration. I could definitely see this deck putting an Infiltration or 3 in here. But for now, no. Alright. So now let's just go to like programs, hardware, and such. Start searching just Shaper stuff. This deck might play Notoriety after all, as I'm starting to think about it more. Like, we're going to get a lot of cards between having Diesel, Professional Contacts, and I'm still not sure if I'm going to include Quality Time or not. So, like, it wouldn't be hard to find enough All-Nighters and Notorieties. And, like, yeah, we don't have Desperado, or sorry, Doppelganger, but we have the Collective. That gives an extra click, too. So, it's something, like, all these cards that we're thinking about so far, it's ways to trigger the extra click. But with Notoriety, it's a card that's utilizing the extra click instead, which is very different. And it's the kind of effect where you care a lot more about triggering it than utilizing it because, like, it's a click. A click is already really valuable. You don't usually need much help getting value out of a click, but maybe we want to play Notoriety. Anyways, in the meantime, definitely going to play one Deus Ex. That goes without saying. That should probably be a one of in pretty much every Shaper deck. I can see why other decks would be too tight on Influence, even though it's only one Influence. Also, they're not playing SMC, but like it's just a really good card to have as one of against Jinteki. Clone Chip. We're going to start with Clone Chip as a 1. Probably going to go up more. That card's pretty good. And like we're not lacking for space with our 55 card minimum. 3 Atman, yeah, I was talking about this before. The more I think about it, the more I think this deck, with its influence limitation, is going to need to be an Atman deck. Yeah. That, of course, means 3 SMC. I mean, that's just kind of obvious anyways. SMC is really good. R&D interface. That's an awesome card. Especially when you have modded in your deck. It's nice to have cards that really get full value out of modded. Unfortunately, we're not Kate, so we're not going to get free R&D interfaces, but we're going to get some pretty sweet R&D interfaces. One credit for a card like this is pretty good. You also have to consider that a lot of our runs are going to be something like using Maker's Eye, so and like plus it's a Shaper deck in general, like and R&D is the best place to hit. Yeah, it's just a really good card. I haven't put them in yet, but I'm fairly certain I'm going to be playing Data Suckers, and since we're not going to be running a console, like if you're playing Atman, Dinosaurus does actual nothing. Toolbox is too expensive. Monolith's way too expensive. Like this deck's probably just going to be console-less. We're going to need to get our memory somewhere. The choices are basically Akamatsu Memchip and Dyson Memchip. Dyson being too more expensive, but giving you a link. The thing is, most Corp decks, because they're so, like, the two most common runners right now are Kate and Andro. Sorry about the sounds, by the way. I have my window open because it's absurdly hot here. Anyways, as I'm saying, Kate and Andro are the two most common runners these days. Most Corp decks aren't playing much, if any, tracing effects, so I think Akamatsu Memchip's the clear choice. So I'm going to go ahead and put 3 in there. We're going to make sure we need to make sure we have enough memory to play all our Atmans and at least 2 data suckers. That's really the important thing. So we're going to want to see at least one of those and play it out every game. Opus is a card that, lets us trigger the collective. You can Opus 3 times and then have a click, have 2 clicks left over instead of just 1. And that's nice. But I just don't really like the card that much anymore. We might play 1 because we have SMC, but I don't really like $7 for a Magnum Opus is awfully expensive. I think you're better off just trying to find other economy cards at that point. Yeah, don't think I'm gonna play this. We might come back to it, but I'm not super excited about it. Personal Touch doesn't make any sense with Atman. What's Motivation? I haven't read The Shaper things recently. Oh, that sucks. I remember False Echo sucking too, and I don't think Lockpick was much better. I seem to recall being really disappointed. Yeah, Personal Workshop's not too exciting either, given what we're playing. Okay, so let's go elsewhere. Well, since we're playing Atman, we're definitely going to need to play 3 Data Sucker. That goes without saying. I hope anyways. Don't play Atman without Data Sucker, kids. It's a bad idea. Data Sucker's one word, right? Yes, good. So now we have 2 influence left. And we have 15 cards to go. Alright, well, we've so far only looked at Shaper, programs and resources and stuff, so let's go to neutral. I know I'm going to want to play 3 daily casts, because that card's really good. And there might be some more I want to play on top of that, even. This deck's going to need to play more economy cards than other decks do, just by virtue of the fact that it has more cards overall, so I'm going to see fewer economy cards if I run the same amount. Which means I might need to play a subpar card like Armitage Code Busting. Though Armitage Code Busting, hey, it works with the collective. Like, you use it 3 times. It's actually not bad. In fact, the more I think about it, hey, I'm actually probably going to play that card, now that I think about it. Even though I'm not a huge fan of that card. Neutral. I wish there was a way I could differentiate, Shaper, runner neutral from thing neutral, corp neutral. But I don't see any options right here. Anyways, I guess we could just go by type and just go resources first. Yeah, let's do that. That actually seems pretty smart. Okay, yeah, so whoa. My mouse is jumping. Where'd my cursor go? There it is. Alright. So yeah, 3 daily casts. Probably some amount of Katie Jones. Probably, the sum amount is probably 3. Even though we can't trigger Katie Jones with the collective, we can just, it's nice if you can just sort of operate like a runner normally does with 4 clicks, and then your 5th click is always Katie. That can be good. That's again going towards that whole idea of utilizing rather than triggering. Katie Jones would be a utilizer. What a nice thing to have when you have an extra click, because normally Katie Jones, it's an awesome econ card, but it's very limiting in what you can do on your turns, because you're making your turns smaller. So the fact that we're making our turns bigger makes Katie's drawback less of a problem. And yeah, Armitage Code Busting I think is going to come in here. Not a card I recommend in other decks. I think you have other better options no matter what faction you're playing for economy, but in this situation, we need more economy cards, and it does happen to work quite well with our ability, so I think that's fine. Alright, so we have 6 slots still to go. So first of all, we can see if there's any neutral programs or hardware, but I mean, other than Plascrete, I can't think of too much. Oh, whoops, I'm just typing in Plascrete. Crypsis is another good card. And in fact, we're going to need more breakers than just the standard, play 3 Atman, play 3 SMC. Just because, again, bigger deck. So I think definitely at least one Crypsis, probably so that we can find it with SMC for one thing. How many clone chips do we have right now? 1. I think what we might do is fill the deck out with those sort of extra copies of things that we were discussing before. Maybe throw in a quality time as well. I think I'm definitely going to want Plascrete though. Like, people do play Wayland, and you're going to want an answer against what that deck's throwing at you. So yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and put in 3 Plascrete. I think 1 Crypsis, probably enough. Jeez, I don't know what's going on. I don't know if you guys can hear that. Student neighborhoods, they're the worst. Anyways, Crypsis. 2 slots remaining. It might be 1 clone chip, 1 Crypsis. That doesn't seem terrible. That might be a bit excessive. I think quality time is excessive. The more I think about that, the more I don't like it. Could also just be 2 notoriety. A lot of corp decks run like a bunch of 2-point agendas. Like, I know my corp deck runs 9 2-pointers and then 2 1-pointers. So a lot of the time you'll be at 6 points, and notoriety just counts as like the lethal agenda. Of course, the times where you score one of their 1-pointers, notoriety is going to look pretty terrible, but that's less often. So even if we can't combo off and score all 3 of them, in fact, we could even cut a Plascrete and go to 3 notoriety. That doesn't seem awful. Because our thing by itself, if you run, you run R&D, then you run HQ, then you run archives. You have 2 clicks. You can play 2 notoriety. Yeah, I kind of like this idea. You know what? I think I'm going to give it a try, and we'll see how it goes. We can always just cut them later. Man, this search function is not the best. I specifically typed notoriety like that first before I deleted this so that I didn't have to deal with as much loading stuff. Yeah, I could definitely see myself cutting those, but I want to give it a try. Oh wait, no, I don't have 5 influence in here. I only have 3. I'm dumb. Fuck you, notoriety. I should play StimHack. StimHack's so much better. I'm really glad I caught myself there. We have 3 SMC. We have a clone chip. We should play StimHack. In fact, I think I'm going to go up to 2 clone chip. And keep it at 2 Plascrete. You only really need to see 1 Plascrete. Alright. The collective is built. So yeah, that is how I build decks usually. I come in with an idea, and then I just try to find the cards that fit in with that idea, and then once I have the cards that I know I want, I try and like tinker around to find the last few slots, like fill those last few slots that need filling. So here was like, ooh, notoriety, but then wait a minute, no, Stimhack. Um, Infiltration is another card that maybe I should have considered, but I don't think so. I think this is pretty good. So yeah, I'm going to close this off, and I'll be back later, and I'm actually going to pilot this and try it out, and people can... I mean, maybe it's a bad idea to publish, like, hey, here's exactly what's in my deck if I'm about to go and play it, but I think that's less of a problem when you're running than when you're corping. Corps rely a lot more on secret information than runners do, so I don't think it's a big deal. Anyways, hope this video was insightful, and I hope that the people who watch it will join me when I decide to play it. So yeah, bye for now.